The footer doesn't need to have much in it, but sometimes it's kind of cool to have some stuff down there that your users can use to display different kinds of additional content, list of posts, an image feed, or Twitter widget, or just some links. Adding widgetized areas doesn't mean people need to use them, it just means that they are there in case they want to. They are really more like easy-to-use drag-and-drop hotspots for any of the types of content that are available on the widgets page in the admin. Additional widget options can be added by different plugins, allowing you to really put pretty much whatever you want down there. Your theme might not use a sidebar, in which case you'd probably want to have widgetized areas in the footer, because a lot of the time people will have widgets that they want to put somewhere. Creating widgetized areas is a two-part process. First, we need to register the widgetized areas. WordPress still calls these sidebars in the code, even though they don't necessarily go into the sidebar, and there can be more than one. The register sidebar function takes an array of arguments. Most of them are optional, but if you want to have multiple widgetized areas or have control over how they display, you'll want to modify them from the defaults. The arguments that register sidebar looks for are name, the sidebar name, ID, which is an ID that you can assign to a sidebar to reference it specifically. If left at the default, it becomes a numeric auto-incremented ID. Description, which is some description about the sidebar that will appear on the widgets page in the admin. Class, which is a CSS class to assign to the widget HTML. Before widget, which is any HTML to place before every widget. After widget, HTML to place after every widget. Using before and after widget allows you to customize the classes and containers used for your widget. The default is wrapping each widget in list item tags. Before title, which is HTML to place before every title, and after title, which is HTML to place after every title. Using before and after title allows you to customize the HTML tab to wrap the title in. The default is an H2 with a class of widget title. We're going to use most of these for our footer widgets. In the functions.php, I start by creating a function to wrap all my register sidebar functions in. This function is going to hook into the widgets init action, which initializes the widgets. Then I'll register my first sidebar. I'm going to have 3 widgets in my footer, so we'll start with the one on the left. I'm giving this an ID of left footer box, and I'm naming it left footer box also. Then I'll give it a description so users know what left footer box means. I'm still wrapping my widgets in li tags. In fact, the before and after tags are left at the default. If I wanted to, I could add an alternate class or change the ID. This parameter uses sprintf to replace the variables in the strings. Instead of making my titles h2s, I'm making them h3s but keeping the widget title class. I do the same thing 2 more times for the widget area in the center and the one on the right. The only things I'm changing are the names, IDs, and descriptions to reference where the boxes are positioned. Now that I've got all that set up, I'm going to flip back over to my footer.php and add them in. First, I need to check if the sidebar is active. I can explicitly define which sidebar I'm referring to by using the ID here. This is why giving sidebars a custom ID is handy. You can use the sidebar name in there as well, but I like using IDs so I don't need to worry about proper capitalization and matching whatever I made the display name. If it's there, I'm wrapping it in a div with the grid class callSM4. This means that on devices smaller than a tablet, we'll be making widgets take up the full width. Inside this container, I start with my UL and then run dynamic sidebar, passing to it the ID of the sidebar I want to display, in this case, left footer box. Then I close my UL, end my div, and end my if statement. This repeats for the next 2 boxes, with the only difference being the IDs of the widgetized areas and the divs. At the end of it all, I will be able to drag widgets to the footer boxes in the widget page in the admin and see how they show up on the front end of the site. But if I don't want anything in there, none of the markup gets written and nothing displays. I prefer this to having some default widgets in place if nothing is added to those sidebars on the widgets page.